record. Okay. So first and foremost, we'll start with this sucker. We'll go File, Export, and then we're going to export all artboards. If you happen to have random things, I don't suggest that, but if you have it selected, you go File, Export, and it would just be selected. But you just want to make sure you just do all of them and not have any random artboards that you don't need. So File, Export. I keep things very organized. So I've got an InDesign folder started already. Desktop JPEGs. I already saved them in here. Actually, let me just go ahead and delete what I had in there just so I don't get. So actually, I'm going to backtrack for a moment, guys, just because file management, I think, is very important as well. So I number my things also because I like to have them generally organized. This isn't numbered. I'm going to go like this. And I'm going to go to JPEG. So I'm just going to keep all my JPEGs in one folder. And then from here, I'm going to create another folder, mobile, JPEGs. If you happen to have everything all on one screen, you can just move them over, or sorry, all in one file. Just depends how you guys might have done it. And then I create another one, PDF. Okay. So now when I'm in here, tutorial, JPEGs, and these are my desktop JPEGs. Like I said, you can keep your folders like this. This isn't part of your grade, but this is just me talking about this because it's strongly suggested. It's great practice to get into. If they all happen to save into one folder, I do suggest separating them. When you get into really massive sites, you will want to have one file for desktop, one for JPEG, because it will get a little bit busy. So format JPEG, quality 100%. Design, you can just leave it all there, and then we're just going to export artboards. Okay, so now everything is automatically in there, and this is another really great reason why I talked about this in the video, why we label our artboards, because when they're saved in our JPEGs, they're saved by our artboard names. So they're easy to find, they're easy to navigate through, and you're not like, where is that section? Because they're just gonna be called artboard 1, 2, 3. So I've got all my JPEGs there, great. So now I'm going to go into InDesign, okay? So this is just kind of maybe like a really basic sort of presentation. I have in the past showed people how to, like a kind of a format for a presentation, and then I get them handed in literally exactly what my presentation is, but just like with like some name changes. So create your own look and feel, okay? So do what you think would work best for you. So just a quick kind of 101 from InDesign. So file, new, document. For this instance, you can do 11 by 17. I generally do a lot of presentations in 11 by 17. Just because I really like a lot of that white space around it, but 8.5 by 11 works as well. And again, personally for me, I like a presentation, a landscape format. It's up to you guys to decide what you feel works best for you. So I'm just not going to put facing pages on. So that means there's not going to be 2 pages next to each other. I don't know how many pages I'm going to need right now, or I guess depending on the amount of artboards, I can decide that. I'm just going to leave that as 1 for now. 11 width and 8.5 height. And we're going to go ahead and create. So without getting too much into like actual layout design, because it's where my heart and soul is, layout design I love. I really strongly work on a grid when I'm designing. It keeps things very organized. It keeps things clean. I'm going to just briefly touch upon that with you guys today, just in case this might be something you would like to do. Because it comes in handy for everything, even when designing in the web using that grid. So for instance, for me, I do the same thing. I like a wider margin. So if you guys go into your master page in the pages panel, you can adjust your margin so they always stay consistent. You always have good placement of the exact same placement of things. So I can go layout, margins and columns, and then this is where I can decide. So I like a little bit more on the top. I like 1 inch on the left and right, and at the bottom, I like a little bit less. When it comes to my grid, that's totally up to you. If you guys want to do this again, don't get too wrapped up into this. If you guys are feeling like this is maybe too much, but again, it's all visual, right? It's visual layout, it's visual print. So I work here, just a 8-column grid, and I do like a little bit of space in these gutters. So I do 1/4 of an inch. Okay. So now every time we go to add a page, that grid's always there, so we can follow that along. We don't need to recreate the wheel. So that's why I always go ahead in my master page and adjust that in my margins. I'm just going to do it here for you guys to show you. So I'm going to go master page, layout, margins, and columns. I'm going to go 1 inch on the left, 1 inch on the right, 0.75 on the top, and 0.5 on the bottom. And then you can use this as your visual. If you keep preview checked on, you can kind of see how many grids you want. Again, I'll just stick to 9. I'm going to add a little bit more in the gutter. Okay, so you guys can play with things like that, and we press OK. If, for instance, you want something that looks like this, so maybe you prefer a dark background, it helps those wireframes really stand out. Again, it's not needed, but if you would like to, I suggest doing it on your master page, because then you don't need to put it on there and it's always locked in. So just go to my square tool, just create a random box, and then I like to use my measurements up here, 0, 0, 11, and 8.5. I do see some questions popping in there. I'm going to review those in a brief moment. I'm just going to go ahead and color that black and say that's 80%. Now again, when I go over here, it's all in there. Let's see the chat. Bless you. I heard that too. It was like, wait a minute. Just says bless you to whoever just sneezed. Okay, guys, so now we start to develop like our title page. So it's always, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, just a quick question.
That's okay.
So
yeah.
Now when you created this background, the grid is behind the background, am I right?
The grid, when you create a grid, the grid will always be in the front. So whatever you put on there, you'll always be able to see the grid unless you press command semicolon or colon. Then you can have it disappear or show up, but it will always technically be there no matter what. So even if I'm here and I go and I put a bright pink box, that grid will always be there. Okay. Does that answer your question, Margarita?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. And please do interrupt, guys, if you want. It's like, please, please, please go for it. Ask questions on the fly. Okay, so this is, say, now my title page. So what do we want to have in a title page? If you're thinking, think about yourself. This is UX now. Okay, so when you're thinking about a title page, what do you want to see when you pick up a book? You want to see what the title is, or, you know, like an informational document. You want to know maybe who wrote this, and perhaps now if it's going to be presented to you. So if someone's going to present something to you, you want to know that this is going to you. There's maybe a date on there, your client project, etc. So those are all the little details that you would want to put on there. So think about what you would want to have on there if someone was presenting to you. Again, that's UX. So for me, it's our wireframes project, and these are our portfolio website wireframes. That's me. Say I'm creating a portfolio website. Maybe this is Mohawk College website wireframes. Okay, so whatever you guys have chosen your website to be, you would put that on there. So for me, I'm just going to call it a portfolio website. It's the wireframes project, and then I'm going to have my name, my professor's name, or the client name, and then my own personal name, so I know who you guys are. So again, you would just going back over to my little. So I use this often, guys, when you press W to change that preview, so I can click that on and off very often. So I'm going to go to my text tool, create a text box. I'm going to go wireframes project. Sometimes you might want to put the project code in there, whatever you would like. Select all, Command A. I'm going to go over to my color palette and my swatches. I'm going to change that to white. I'm going to find the font that I like to use. And then I can go Command-Shift-K to put that in all caps so we can use it up here. Again, this is all up to you guys what information you do or don't want to put up in here. Okay, so now I'm going to again now use my margins so things stay nice and clean. I'm going to press Option and my arrow because I'm going to leave a little bit of breathing room between my letters, opening up that current a bit. And I like the way that looks. So now I tend to work a little bit quick in InDesign, guys. It's like my video game. So stop me if you're like, how did you do that? You can either go ahead and create a new text box and reinvent the wheel, or I like to just use what I have. So I'm going to click on there. I'm going to go Option Shift and drag. So now my font is the same, everything's set up. And I'm going to go Client. I don't want this in caps, so I'm going to Command-Shift-K again. Give that a cap. And then name, maybe student name. So here I would then put in Kristen Hickey, I'm your client. Maybe like to adjust the font weight. And we're going to call this Margarita because you are right there. And again, change that to light. Now, if I double click the bottom of my text box, it snaps to the base of that. So it's nice and clean. And now I'm just going to bring that and slide it all the way down. Okay, so now it's starting to take a little bit of shape. I'm going to grab that text box because I'm going to do something different. What did we call this? Portfolio, let's say personal folio. Portfolio wireframes. Okay, again, you don't need to get too wrapped up on what the title is. It should obviously just make sense. Use my eyedropper to pick up that text type, but I'm going to change this to bold. And now I can go Command-Shift and use those arrows, and I'm just going to bring that font size up, and then Option, arrow, and I'm going to current that in. Another thing I did see when you guys did your personas, I saw a lot of hyphenation. You generally don't want hyphenation unless you need to. So if you go into your paragraph, shut that off. Just keep the text together. It's a lot better to have it that way instead of a word broken up. So again, I'm going to double click. So now it snaps to the bottom of that. So now I want this centered on my page. And I'm sorry if you guys are like, this is so boring. I know. Is this helpful?